Well, I wonder if your work is like mine. Probably in some ways it is, probably in some ways it's very different. But I have a feeling that I know something that's happened to you. Somewhere, whether it was a day that you had at work, or maybe a week or a month you've had at work, there's been a time where you've walked away and thought, what did I do? Like, what did I do all day? Like, what have I done all week? I mean, I sifted through all the emails. Yeah, I did that. I responded to all the Slack messages, and I followed up on all my leads, and I sat in a bunch of meetings, and I went to a meeting that should have been an email, and then I had to email somebody about a meeting I went to, and I ran a bunch of errands, and then, what did I do today? Like, did I actually accomplish anything important? And that's okay, because that's good. That means that there's something in you that you want to do and be part of something that's significant. That's actually hardwired into you. It's kind of the same reason that we ask kids all the time, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And it's gotten older and older and older, and everybody's worried about, no, you don't put too much pressure on them, they're only 27. Don't pressure them about what they're going to do the rest of their life, whatever, culture, blah, 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 whatever. But at some point, we ask people, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And when I was that age, I was born back in the 1900s, so that was a while ago. I was going to be a tailback for the Dallas Cowboys. That was my career plan. My best friend was going to be an astronaut. It did not work out for either one of us. But you had some dreams. Kids today have dreams. You talk to them now, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a YouTuber. That's what I want to do. We start off with these big ideas, and that's great. I'm so glad that we do. But what I have noticed is, and in my own life, and probably in your life, as the world starts to hit you, and as work starts to come at you, and bills have to be paid, your dreams get a little more practical. Right? I dream of a place that has good medical benefits. I dream of a place where the printer works. I dream of a place where the meetings are short. Those are the things we start to look for. But again, it's actually kind of picking at this thing in us, because not only do we want to know that the work we did mattered, there is also something in us that wants to know that what I'm doing, where I'm spending so much of my time, even if you're part-time, if you work at home, or if you're a stay-at-home mom, if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week at the office, you want to know that, like, my life means something, right? There's something behind all of this beyond just making some money and filling up my time. And that's a good thing. That desire to do meaningful things, that desire to do something significant, it is built into you. It is wired into you. And we're going to see in 1 Kings 19, if you've got a Bible or you want to follow along, we're going to see a story of two men that tapped into that very deep question that you and I often ask about, does this matter, and where's my life going? Because there's this strange moment, and we'll unpack it, but there's this strange moment where one man comes and he takes off his coat, his cloak, and he puts it on another man. And it's kind of like, all right, that's weird. But in that culture, in that moment, it meant something very, very significant. It meant that God is calling you for the rest of your life to a different life. And what we're going to find, which to me is so exciting, it's like a breath of fresh air, is so encouraging, is this is not just for prophets and preachers. This is for everyone. You were designed to live a significant, purpose-filled, important, impactful life. And the way we talk about it here is this idea of being sent. We even have a phrase we use internally, and we're starting to share it with you guys, living sent. That I am living as though I've been sent somewhere. And it is living sent that makes your life significant. That's where it starts to turn. It's not just filling time. It's not just doing stuff. It's not just going through the motions. It is living a life that becomes very clearly significant. And so, like I said, in 1 Kings 19, there's two men, Elijah and Elisha, which I know it's hard to keep track of. Their names are very close. But Elijah is a prophet. And we've been tracking with him for a little bit these last few weeks, and I'm going to catch you up. But he comes up to this man, Elisha, and he puts his cloak on him. And like I said, in that culture, in that time, they knew what that meant. That meant you're going to be my apprentice, that you are going to eventually take my place, that God has called you to a different life. But before we get there, we need to understand what was happening with Elijah. You see, Elijah had come off this monumental win. Like, I don't know what you think of as your biggest win in life, but whatever your biggest win in life is, he just came off of his. I mean, you would think he would be riding high. Like, man, everything is so good, and God is good, and my life is good, and things are finally turning my direction. I'm really happy and excited about everything. And he is for a minute. But then he gets threatened. And there's no easy way to say it. He just crumbles. He's afraid. He runs away. Like, all the confidence that he had in God, all the confidence that he had built up about what God was doing and how God's favor had been on his life and how God was using him, it vanished. Not because God had changed, but because Elijah was afraid. And out of fear, he runs. And as we track this process, and Pastor Corey did a great job unpacking this last week of how depression and discouragement can really eat at us and how we respond to that. He was in the middle of it. He was in the middle of it to the point where he even wanted God to take his life. He's like, I don't want to live anymore. He was suicidal. And he's complaining and he's venting to God. And God lets him get it all out, so to speak, which is so, so important. And this is a sideline. This doesn't really have a lot to do with what I'm talking about today. You need to build a relationship with God where you are comfortable telling him how you really feel. Because that's exactly what Elijah did. He went through the gamut. He told God everything. And it was so good for him. God used that to help heal him because he was willing to be honest about what was going on the inside. And I just can't encourage you enough to build that kind of relationship with God where you tell God when you're angry, you tell God when you're discouraged, you tell God when you're depressed, you tell him when you're excited, and you share that with him because he will walk you through those things. Elijah does all of this to God as he's sitting in a cave, a literal cave, but it might as well have been a psychological and spiritual cave. And he just dumps all this on God. I don't want this. I don't want to do this anymore. Nobody else is with me. Even though, God, you're talking to me, I feel like I'm alone. And I'm done. And God lets him vent all of that. And then God responds. 1 Kings 19, verse 15. It would help if I was on the right page. 1 Kings 19, verse 15. Elijah's in the cave and God is speaking to him. The Lord said to him, go back the way you came and go to the desert of Damascus. And when you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, king over Israel. And anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah to succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escape the sword of Hazael, and Elisha will put to death any who escape the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserved 7,000 in Israel, whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and whose mouths have not kissed him. Now, that sounds a little bit strange. And before we get to what God said, I think we have to kind of understand where Elijah is at. Because like I said, he has gone through all of this, and he does the three things that almost everybody does when they get depressed and discouraged. And they all start with P, and I didn't come up with this. This came from a guy named Henry Cloud, but when I read it, I was like, that's exactly what we do. There's 3 Ps. The first thing we do is we personalize it. So Elijah had failed. There's no question about that. He failed. I think anybody that saw the situation would describe it that way. It's not judgmental. It's not angry. It's not any of those things. He just failed. But Elijah took that and personalized it. He said, because I failed, I'm a failure. He personalized it. The second thing he did was he made it pervasive. Because I made the wrong choice, in that moment I did the wrong thing, it became pervasive to him. Everything in my life is wrong. And then he made it permanent. He said, not only is everything ruined, it will always be ruined. And I know that seems so extreme when you're at a distance and you're not emotionally engaged. But when you are, it seems like the most natural thing in the world. You see, Elijah was done. He was done. He was done with being a prophet. He was done with doing all the things. He was probably, and I'm kind of reading this in, so I got to be careful. I don't even know. He might have felt like he was done with God, even though he's having a conversation with God. You see, Elijah was done, but God was not done with Elijah. Like I said, he let him vent. And then he told him, Elijah, let me remind you a couple of things. I have a job for you. I want you to go and make some heroes. And we're going to talk about what it means to make heroes. He goes, I want you to be a hero maker. He says, oh, by the way, Elijah, don't forget, I'm the one that chooses kings and authorities and what happens and who does what. And I'm in charge. I'm sovereign. I'm in control. It's okay. And oh, by the way, Elijah, remember, you're not alone. I know you feel like you are, but you're not alone. And it struck me that it's the exact same pattern, right? We do the exact same thing. It's so easy when we've been working so hard and we're up for the promotion and we don't get the promotion, or worse yet, we lose the job, and we take that and we know our career and our life is not over, but in the moment it feels like it is, doesn't it? I'm never going to get another job. I'm never going to get the right spot. They're never going to appreciate me. I'm never going to be able to do what it is I want to do. When our kids are struggling as parents, it's Father's Day. We know it's not true. But when they've been struggling and we've been helping them and it seems like they're struggling against us now and it doesn't seem to be getting any better, I stink as a parent. I'm a terrible dad. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I should even, they'd be better off without me. We know it's not true, but we think it. The bills pile up. Made some bad choices financially. Starting to get overwhelmed by it. And we know it's not true. But we start to think of ourselves, I'm a loser. Man, I'm so stupid. I don't know how I got into this. I'm never going to get out of this. I might as well just quit and just be done with all of it. That's what happens. And you know what God does? In those moments where you're discouraged and you're depressed and you're struggling, he does the same thing he did with Elijah. He is not done with you. He reaches out to you and he says, I love you. I've got something important for you to do. Don't forget who I am. And by the way, you're not alone. You're not alone. You see, God's answer to failure is to give you purpose and call you to connection. He is not the angry boss that just discounts how you're feeling and what's going on in your life. It's just the opposite. He lets you vent. He walks through it with you. And then because he knows best, he gives you the way out. And I'm not saying that counseling doesn't help and that there's not all kinds of things going on in our minds and emotions and all of that. Of course there is. But from the standpoint of what does God do? He gives you purpose. And he calls you to connection. He says, hey, here's what I want you to do. I know you're struggling. What I want you to do is I want you to go out and invest in somebody else. That idea of being a hero maker. And not only do I want you to invest in someone else, I want you to connect with other believers. Don't isolate yourself. Don't cut yourself off. And this is not a commercial for our church, but my goodness, that's why we invite you to come here and worship and remember who God is. That's why we encourage you to get into a small group and a community group so that you have that connection. That's why we invite you also to be a hero maker, to invest in other people, to serve other people, to bless other people, because God uses those things to help you recenter your purpose and find the significance that you've been looking for, especially when you've hit a hard spot. When you've hit a moment where you just feel like you can't. And it's so incredible what God does in those moments. Purpose starts to be rediscovered. Significance kind of starts to surface where it hadn't been before. This idea of being called and being sent, it is not a guilt thing. It is not a I got to do my duty kind of thing. It is actually a loving gift that our Heavenly Father gives us because he knows that we need to have purpose, that we need to do things that are significant because he built us that way. And so he gives us that gift. But this idea of calling wasn't just important to Elijah. It also was incredibly important to Elisha. Look with me what happens when he throws this cloak on him. Verse 19. So Elijah went up from there. He got out of his cave. He got on the move. And he found Elisha, the son of Shaphat. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. And just, by the way, that's kind of, think of it in these terms. His farm was so big, he had 12 tractors, okay? This guy's rich. And he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him, threw his cloak around him. And Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, he said, and I will come back to you. Go back, Elijah replied. What have I done to you? So Elisha left him and he went back and he took his yoke of oxen and he slaughtered them and he burned the plow equipment to cook the meat and he gave it to the people and they ate. And then he set out to follow Elijah and become his servant. It's so dramatic. This cloak moment. I mean, Elisha is doing what you do. Like, he's just living his day, right? He's at work. He's just working along, and he probably is wondering, who's this guy walking across my freshly plowed field, right? Like, he's messing stuff up. Who is this guy? What is he doing? And he keeps working, and Elijah gets closer, and he realizes, this might be somebody I know or somebody I've heard of, and he puts that cloak on him. And suddenly, everything changed. Because Elisha knew how to understand and interpret that. And again, in that culture, that meant God is calling you to apprentice to me and to take my place one day. And it overwhelmed him. I mean, like I said, he was just doing his normal. He was a wealthy farmer, just doing his farming things. I don't know what farmers do, but he was doing it. And he was just kind of having his regular day. And as soon as that cloak went on him, he knew, my life's never going to be the same. All the things I thought I was going to do, all the ways I thought it was going to go, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be different. And I couldn't help, as I read that, think about my own cloak moment. You see, I was a 16-year-old, I think, somewhere between sophomore, junior year, or between junior and senior year. I don't know which one it was. And I had some good characteristics and a lot of bad characteristics. I was arrogant. My wife described me as a punk the first time she saw me, so I don't know what that meant. But, I was 16, 17-year-old boy, whatever. And I was living my life, and I was doing my thing. And as I sat in a worship service, I had an incredible sense that God was calling me to something different. I had mapped out my life. I was going to go into finance and banking, and some of you that are really old like me will remember the show Family Ties. I was going to be Alex P. Keaton, and I was going to go make a lot of money, and I was going to go do all that stuff, and I loved the idea of Wall Street and investments, and that would just really captured me, and that's where I was going until that service. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I talked to my youth pastor. His name is Bob Buring, and he spent a lot of time with me. Not trying to force me or manipulate me in any way, but just talking to me, just working with me, helping me decipher, what is God saying? What am I supposed to do about it? What does this even look like? And then later, my pastor, Mark Mucklow, he spent a lot of time with me, talking to me about how this could go and what it might look like. If I was going to give up one career and one life to follow God to be a pastor, how do you do that? How does that work? And I was so thankful for those people that walked with me, just as I'm sure Elisha was thankful to Elijah that he walked with him and helped him understand this calling. But it dawned on me, it's not just Elisha and Brett and pastors that have these kinds of cloak moments. If you're a follower of Jesus, you have a cloak moment too. You see, God has called you. He is absolutely, unapologetically, without any hesitation or doubt, called you if you consider yourself a follower of Jesus. And for some, it will look like a career in ministry as a pastor working at a church or some other kind of ministry organization or something like that. For some, it will. But for most of us, what it looks like is recognizing that the place God has put me and the people He has put me around, He's called me to them. He's sending me to them. That part of the glory and the reward and the beauty of following Jesus is that He includes me in His mission. And I get to live sent into all of these places. When I go into work, and all of my coworkers, the nice ones, the ones I don't like, the ones that are climbers, the ones that are lazy, all the people that I work with, I'm called to be an ambassador of Christ to them. I literally represent Jesus to all the people that I work with. When I go home, when I go in my home, I am there to remind the people that I live with that God is with us, that God is in control, that He is in charge. He has sent me to those people. Or it could be as simple as the other mom on the club team to go and remind her that she is not alone, that I've been sent to her. You see, God calls us and God sends us, regardless of what our vocation ends up being. Some do end up working in a ministry role that is working for a church or an organization, but most of us end up being called to live a life in the spaces and places where God has already put us. He invites you to live sent. And when you do, that desire for significance, did what I do matter today? That desire for purpose is, where is my life going and does it really count? Starts to get answered in a powerful way. Not a I think so, kind of, maybe, sort of, well, like I did get a raise kind of way. But my life is different, and it's different than it was. It's not going to be the way it was anymore. And I love Elisha's response. It's a little tricky to pick up in the text, but picture a squirrel running in 7 directions at once. That's kind of like, hey, I want to tell my parent, I want to kiss my mom. I want to go with you. I want to make an offering. He's just all over the place. He's just so overwhelmed. God, you have called me? I can't believe it. Like I'm so honored. I want to celebrate this. This is the best thing that has ever happened in my life. And I'm so keyed up, I don't even know what to do. That's why Elijah's like, what have I done to you, man? Like, what's going on here? You're bouncing all over the place. It was such an important moment for him. The God of the universe, in our context, our master, our savior, our king, he said, I've got something for you. I've got something for you to do. It fits you, and I'm calling you to it, and I will go with you, but I am sending you out. It's so important. I'm only giving this to you to do. And for Elisha, it was just this incredible, overwhelming moment. I've had this encounter with God. It's blowing me away. And he does what anybody should do when you have an encounter with God. First and foremost, I worship him. He just overwhelms me, and I worship him. And I think the realization hits him, my life's never going to be the same. And he burns his plow. The farmer burns his plow. I mean, you can't walk away from it any more than that, can you? It's like the fisherman leaving his nets or the tax collector walking away from his booth. He's like, I'm done with that. That life is over. I'm living a different life now because God has called me. Because God has a purpose and a place for me. And I am so overjoyed and excited to step into it. See, that's what happens when we encounter God. It's what we've been saying throughout this whole series. We gather together every week so that we can encounter God. And encountering God does something to us. Encountering God leads you to count on God. Because we knew the life that we already had mapped out, right? We knew what we were expecting, what we wanted, the goals we set, how we thought it was going to go, the farm we were going to have, the career and finance we were planning on. We knew how all that was going to go. And then God says, I've got something else for you. And we switch gears and we don't know what we're doing. And I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to live sent. I don't know how to show up at work and represent Jesus. Are you kidding me? I work with idiots. There's no way I could do that. You don't know how. And that's okay. God says, count on me. Because not only am I going to send you, I'm going to equip you. See, we get it all backwards sometimes. We think what happens is God waits until we're at the right place, until we're just right and we're qualified and we're holy and we're righteous and we're a great representative. And then when we're finally there, he says, now I want you to go and represent me. He does just the opposite. He says, I want you just the way you are, and I will get you ready. I'm calling you now. I will qualify you myself if you will count on me. If you will count on me. Encountering God means we learn to count on God. So what do you do with all this? There's a lot of stuff. I would suggest there's 2 things that you need to leave with and think about today. The first is you need to embrace your cloak moment. You really do. You need to embrace it. You know what? If you got to get a little silly about it like Elisha, fine. Run around and kiss your parents and tell them you're going to miss them and burn up your plows and I want to go with you. Wait, I got to do this. I got to do that. Whatever it is, embrace your cloak moment. Where is he sending you? He is sending you. There's no question about that. The only question is where? What does that look like today? Who is it that you're sending me to today where I can live sent and I can represent you, Jesus? Is it my family? Is it my folks that I work with? Is it my neighbor that I'm talking to? I mean, where do you want me to live sent today? And then just go, counting on him. But there's a special subsect of folks that need to embrace their cloak moment, and I want to talk to you for just a second. You've had, or maybe even this morning, you've had this sense, I wonder if God's calling me to a different life completely? Like, yes, sent, but that somehow I'm supposed to maybe look into becoming a minister or a pastor or working in some kind of ministry organization or a church. And here's what I want to tell you. You need to explore that. You absolutely need to explore that. And we're going to put a number up here because I want you to do me a favor, and we'll leave it up for a second. I want you to text the word called to this number, 623-323-9202. We'll leave it up there for a second. Because if you're even questioning this, if you do this, here's what's going to happen. We're going to send you a link. You mash on that link. You fill out a form. That's it. It's going to go to our pastoral team, and we're going to reach out and talk to you. You're not making a commitment. You're not signing the rest of your life away. You're not doing any of those things. You're simply saying, I want to talk to somebody about this. Because I'm beginning to wonder if this isn't the path that God has for me. That there's something within me that is making me think that he's calling me to ministry as a career, and I need to pursue that. I need to flesh that out just a little bit. Because here's what you need to know. Just in this church, there are so many people that have sat where you sit right now that they have had a cloak moment that has changed everything for them. When I look at our team, Danny V, who leads worship, Danny Smith, who leads our preschool on Sunday mornings, April Maxey, who leads our cafe, Dave Kless, who leads our operations, Carrie Coughlin, who leads our during the week preschool, Tiffany Licking, who is associate director of our during the week preschool, Bennett Licking, who is on our adult staff team, Brad Messer, who has been a part of our church for so long that people think he came with the building. They all sat where you sit. And God did something in their hearts and drew them out, and now they're part of our staff team. Ricky and Alondra Gonzalez, Alondra was up here singing earlier, are interns at our church. People like Joy Lingaza, people like Patrick Youngs, people like Randall Downs, people like Andrew Bailey have been here in this church and gone out from this church to serve in other churches. It happens all the time. And if you're thinking you're weird or strange or something's off because you're feeling like God's calling you to that, no, you're in great company. And I can't tell you what the future holds, but I can tell you that you've got a team of people here that would love to sit with you and talk through and pray through and sort through what God has for you. So maybe your step is to simply text that number if that's something that's been impressed upon you. There's one other takeaway that I want for you, and we've talked about it before. It's this idea of being a hero maker. Like, what is that? It's really simple. It just means investing in somebody else. Pushing somebody else to the front, propping somebody else up, building them up, letting them be the one. And you're like, I don't really know how to do this. Yes, you do. It's actually really easy. It starts with a very simple conversation. You know what I see in you? I see a wise teacher. I see somebody who has a gift of mercy. I see somebody that has a servant's heart. I see somebody who is just really generous and has a great way of making people feel comfortable. I see somebody with a gift of hospitality. You just call out what you see in them. And it doesn't mean they're perfect at it. It just means you see that in them. You want to make somebody else a hero? You want to build them up? Tell them what you see in them. What spiritual gift, what ability do you see in them? As a matter of fact, you can do that with everybody you meet as soon as you understand where they're gifted. And then mentor someone. Like, oh man, I don't mentor. I don't know. Yes, you do. You have the conversation. Here's what mentoring is. Here's what I've learned about following Jesus. If it helps you, I would love to offer it to you. That's what mentoring is. That is the way that people have been called and equipped and sent out within the church for 2,000 years. I see this in you. Here's what I've learned about following Jesus. How can I help you? That's it. That's how you make heroes. And for some of you, that is your next step because you've been living sent, and I love it, and I appreciate it, and thank you, and you encourage us. Take the next step and simply ask, who in my life needs to take another step with Jesus? How can I help them? Whatever it is. Do they need to become a follower of Jesus and get baptized? How can I help them with that? Do they need to find a place to plug in and serve and connect and use the gifts and abilities they have? I can connect them with someone. Do they need to get into a small group, a community group, and know that they're not alone? I can invite them to my group. It's that simple. What is the step they need to take? How can I help them take it? In my mind, it was such an ordinary day. Elisha's plowing his field and Elijah walks up. And you picture it, it seems so basic. So simple, a farmer farming, guy walking. it becomes this incredible hinge point in Elisha's life. You see, when God calls us, when he sends us out, it's not because he needs our help. It's not because he wants to test us and see if we can prove ourselves worthy. He does it because Elisha, and Brett, and you need to know that what you're doing matters. You need to know that your life, it counts. It's about more than making money or making a career, because you know that. Chasing success doesn't give you significance. Feels good in the moment. It's great when you get acknowledged, and then it's gone. God did not save you and make you part of his kingdom for you to sit on the sidelines. And again, it's not a guilt thing. It's not a duty thing. It's not an obligation thing. It's a gift. And he's inviting you. So where is God calling you? Simple question. But it's one that is worth your time and attention today. And so as I pray for you in just a moment, I want to encourage you to pray that prayer. God, where are you sending me? And who can I help take another step? And see if God doesn't speak to you even in this moment as he's in this room as we worship him now. Would you pray with me? Father, I don't know Elijah or Elisha. I never met them. I don't know anything about their life. But I know what it's like to feel like what I'm doing doesn't matter and it isn't significant. And I also know what it feels like to walk with incredible confidence and purpose, knowing that what I'm doing is significant, not because I'm doing it, but because you gave it to me. And so, Father, as we sit here in this moment, I thank you that you are here with us. I thank you that you are speaking to our hearts. Would you give us crystal clear clarity? Father, if we just think back through just the moments of this little encounter, we know you are safe to unload all our baggage, to share all our feelings and all our frustrations. And out of that, you lovingly give us direction. And so, Father, for each one of us, would you give us just an impossible to miss clarity about where you are sending us today? And Father, not only would you give us the where, would you also, out of your generosity, out of your love for us and love for the other people in our life, would you show us the who? Who needs to take their next step? Father, I pray that you would give us the courage to live sent, to answer the call. Because so many of us have answered the call to follow you, Jesus, and it is not just unto salvation, but it is to a life of significance and purpose. So, Father, our answer is yes. Show us where and show us who. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you stand as we continue to worship?